Hi, my name is Liezl and welcome to this three-part series called Soft, A Journey Home. So I've created these three classes as a nuanced way of helping yourself to manage your energy, maybe at the end of the day, especially if it's been a long and a challenging one. There are many ways that we can feel overwhelmed, tired, and all of them need something slightly different. So depending on where you start, that kind of determines the path that you're going to take. So these three sessions are a little bit more specific, a little bit more nuanced. The first one is called Shed. So Shed is really good for if you're kind of feeling still anxious and there's a lot of energy in your system and you just can't seem to find yourself coming to rest. So Shed is there to help you shift this energy and shake it off. The second session is called Mend. So Mend is really good for when you're feeling scattered. If you feel like you are still in 5 to 5 million places at the end of the day and you'd really just like to feel complete and together, Mend is a really good session to bring the energy slowly back. And then the last one is called Nest. And Nest is when you simply need stillness, when you simply need time to be without thinking or moving or doing anything in particular. So use these sessions as you need them. And then lastly, for these sessions you will need a few props, but I've made it super easy so that even if you don't have like yoga props at home, you can use something else. So I'll just quickly show you. I've got a nice big bolster, but any like pillow will do, or maybe like 2 or 3 pillows. It's good to have maybe 2 around. I've got some yoga blocks, but if you don't have blocks, a nice thick dictionary will also do, or maybe a couple of books perhaps wrapped in something. And then a nice alternative to also have around is face towels. So these are smaller towels, as you can see, just folded in a quarter and then rolled up, which are really nice for the restorative sessions. I've got a yoga strap. You can use any belt or scarf. And then I have here what are called eye pillows. So they are filled with rice and they've got a little bit of weight. And that weighty aspect, especially across the eyes or the hands sometimes, can really help to calm the nervous system down. But if you don't have these at home, the next best thing you can use is maybe a bag of rice. This is a bag of split peas. So whatever you have around, and a good weight is from 1/2 kilo to maybe 2 kilograms max. And then something to really invest in is a tennis ball. A tennis ball is a great addition to a yoga practice for doing some fascia release. So these are the things that we'll be using in the series. It is not exclusively a yin practice. It's a bit of a blend of hatha and yin and restorative, and then putting it all together so that you can really find yourself, come back to yourself and be at home. All right, okay, let's get started. And I'll see you now. And welcome to this class called Shed. So Shed is a class for getting rid of any kind of free-floating energy, tension, anxiety that you might have at the end of the day, as a way of kind of like settling down and getting ready for bed, or just having like a chilled evening at home with the ones that you love. So let's get started. For this session in particular, you're going to need a yoga block, perhaps a book if you don't have, and a tennis ball, so you can get those things ready. We'll get started in a standing pose, so when you have everything you need, simply find yourself standing in the center of your mat. We'll start with our feet a little bit wider. And as you find your stance, you can gently shift the weight a little bit from side to side to begin with. So when we have a lot of energy, we don't want to force ourselves into stillness. It can feel abrupt and maybe uncomfortable. So allow that energy to keep moving. It's there. But see if we can kind of slowly reel it in, begin to ground it and release it. And then allowing these movements in these circles to become gently smaller and smaller. And beginning to feel all 10 of your toes on the ground. And then on the next inhalation, reaching your arms out wide. From here, begin to shake your wrists. So a nice gentle shaking through the wrists and the hands. So especially great if you've been working on a laptop all day or you've been using your hands for something else. And finding a little bit of release, lymph drainage in the arms and the hands. And then seeing if you can lift the hands a little bit higher, still shaking. And then finding grounding in the feet, a little bit of bounciness in the knees. On the next inhalation, reach your hands up, letting the knees bend, finding a nice little bit of an arch in your spine, like opening into the front body. And then as you exhale, you drop the hands and shake them back. So on the inhalation, we'll find that opening, arms reach overhead, hands are soft. And then exhale, shake it out. Inhale, exhale. Take nice deep breaths. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. We'll do a few more. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale, and then doing 5 more at your own speed, moving with your breath. Close your eyes if you can. And then last one, shake it out. And then coming to standing, let the arms stay moving, so they're not finding stillness yet. And then we'll begin to shift them from left to right. So instead of up and down, they're now going sideways, front to back, finding a little bit more softness through the spine. So feel your spine twisting gently from the back of your pelvis or the top of your pelvis to the crown of your head. Taking deeper breaths now. So as you inhale, really filling your lungs, slowly exhale. Breath is not coordinated with the movement at all. And just keep moving until you feel that you need to almost breathe faster because the body needs a little bit more oxygen. And then once you get to that point, allow yourself to slow down. Hands become heavy, hanging down by your sides. Maybe still gently swaying from one foot to the other. And then see if you can bring yourself to a space of standing on your mat. Feet nice and wide, maybe palms gently opening forwards. Take a nice deep breath. And then simply notice whether you feel some of that, whether that some of that energy has dissipated. If you're able to feel a little bit more present without that haste or hurry or impatience inside. And then from here, we'll make our way down onto our hands and our knees. I'm using an extra blanket here for padding. You're welcome to do that as well, but it's not necessary. But I'm placing my feet on the mat where there's a slightly harder surface with my toes tucked under. And then just using my fingers to pull my pinky toe forwards so that the bottom of the pinky toe is also grounded on the mat. And then we'll start here with hands on the thighs. If that feels like too much for your feet, you can also place your hands to the floor. And taking one of these 2 versions just for a few breaths as you feel into opening the soles of the feet. Here we're stimulating kidney point 1, which is essentially just here under the ball of the foot. So in traditional Chinese medicine or acupressure, kidney 1 is known as the wellspring, the fountain of life. And it's a really good point to stimulate in order to ground excessive energy. We'll take one more deep full breath. And then from here, walk your hands gently forward if they're on your thighs. And keep the knees together, toes stay tucked under. And then as you exhale, keep walking your hands forwards, allowing your belly to gently drape over your thighs. We'll keep the elbows lifted, fingers spreading wide, and then on the next exhalation, dropping the forehead down towards the mat. So in this stretch, you will find a nice lengthening of your spine, a feeling of really being tall from the tailbone to the crown of your head. And beyond the physical sensations of this posture, this shape also offers the symbolic resting of the head. So you can think of it as putting your mind to rest. So surrendering the thinking part of your brain onto the ground. And then really focusing on taking deep, full breaths into your back ribs. So as you inhale, you want to feel your back ribs open and expand. There's a sense that there's space between the lower ribs and the pelvis. Every inhalation gently stretches the spine taller. And all the while, still that nice strong stretch over the soles of the feet. Maybe you'd like to draw the heels a little closer to each other for the last 3 breaths. Good. One more deep breath here in this very active child's pose. And then when you're ready, gently lift your forehead. Walk your hands back. Place your hands firmly on the floor, and then we'll pop ourselves over, rolling onto the balls of our feet. And then slowly begin to lift through the hips. You can step your feet wider so that they're hip width apart. You can soften the knees, especially if the lower back has a tendency to feel a little bit tight or tender in forward folds. And then from here, allow your belly to keep draping over your thighs as you drop your chest and you drop your head down towards the floor. The hands can either rest palms facing up, back of the hands on the ground, or if you like, you can also wrap your hands into your opposite elbow. So doing this puts a little bit more weight in the upper body. So sometimes it gives a little bit of a deeper stretch along the spine. But take your time to see which one feels good. Allow your head to gently shake from side to side, getting a sense of loosening between each of the neck vertebrae. And then just letting the weight of your head drop down towards the floor. We'll take a few more breaths here, and at any point you're welcome to straighten the legs if you'd like a deeper stretch, especially along the hamstrings. For me, I prefer to have my knees soft. It feels like it takes more of the stretch into the spine. And we'll aim for 5 more deep breaths here. So 5 deep, full breaths, allowing your spine to release, using this inversion as a way of
lowering our heart rate, slowing our breath, and bringing the parasympathetic nervous system online. Good. 2 more deep breaths here. And then when you're ready, plant the palms of your hands, gently push into them to help you lift through your head and your upper back. And then from here we'll step our feet nice and wide so that the heels are on the mat and the toes are turning off towards the side as we prepare for Malasana. So you're welcome to do Malasana without support. A little bit of a stronger pose, stronger hip opening, but the option is also there to use your block. So placing your block where the buttocks will drop, and then coming to sitting on the block for Malasana, hands together in the front, elbows pushing into the inside of the knee. So this is the gentle option of the Malasana if you need today. You're welcome to do it without the block as well. But whichever version you choose, once you're there, once you're settled, drop your awareness down towards your feet. We're going to stay for at least 10 breaths, and if you're in the unsupported version, feel free to take breaks. But coming to the posture, notice if you can feel all 10 your toes on the floor. Notice if you can feel the ball of your foot, the outer edges of the feet and the heels really grounding down. So the whole of the foot supported into the earth and the weight of your body spread evenly across the soles of your feet. So deep, full breaths. We'll take about another 3 breaths here. Feel free to recognize when the posture has reached its end for you. Using this as an opportunity to rather tune into your own body than to follow my instructions to the letter. We'll take 1 more deep, full breath. And then on the next inhalation, gently open the eyes, release your hands. Use your hands as a way of supporting yourself as you push up. If you need to, remove your block. And then we'll slowly make our way down onto the mats, sitting onto our buttocks. Here is where you can grab your tennis ball. So sitting on your mat, you want to make sure that you're maybe not sitting on a blanket. You want kind of like a harder surface underneath you for this. So we'll sit with our knees bent, hands reaching towards the back for support, and then placing first the left leg over the right thigh. Good. So from here, in this position, you want to activate the left foot. Gently feel like you're pulling your left knee away from your chest, and then lift, putting your left buttock on top of the ball. Here you need to push into your hands a little bit and find about a float of 1 centimeter or 2, and then gently rolling the whole of your left buttock into the ball. So take your time here, roll nice and slow, moving yourself up and down. This is a little bit of an exploration, so depending on where your body holds tightness, you're going to feel the intensity different in different places. Everyone's going to have different sensations. So when you find something that feels particularly
sensitive or activated, see if you can maybe just go a little bit to the side of it. Sometimes here we find the sciatic nerve and we don't want to push on that too much. So if it's really painful, just roll a little bit to the side and keep moving rather than holding everything in one spot. Good. Almost done with this side, maybe rolling a little bit out to the hip, not just the buttock, finding it touching all the way to the top rim of the pelvis. Good. And then release. We'll change sides. So bring the ball over to the opposite side of your mat and crossing now your right leg over and rolling the ball in under the right buttock. Ground firmly into your left foot, into your hands, activating the right leg, and then once again begin to roll. So you might find one side is sometimes very sensitive, the other side almost feels like there's nothing. And that's completely normal, and if that's the case, see what you can do to just be present with what is there. Make sure you roll all the different directions, moving nice and slow, and if your wrists need a break, feel free to take it. See if you can find a little bit of release on the outer hip. One last time, one nice roll. Good. And then from here, release. Good. You can place your props to the side. And from here, we'll make our way onto our back. So I like to rest over the blanket here, so there's a little bit more padding and softness in my lower back area, but it really doesn't matter too much. So we'll take constructive rest here as a starting pose, hands by the sides, soles of the feet on the ground. And for a moment, see if you can just reconnect with all the sensations that these postures have created in the body so far. So having stretched out the soles of the feet, there should be a nice spacious awareness of the soles of the feet and how they connect to the earth. Having rolled out the glutes, there should be a sense of aliveness, of really being able to feel that part of your body. So it's like your mental map of your body has become a little bit more nuanced and fuller. Having placed some weight into our hands, the palms of the hand should also feel quite awake and alive. And just take one more deep breath, seeing if you can really release the weight of your head and your spine into the earth. Inhaling slowly, exhaling even out through the mouth if you like. And then from here we'll move into a reclining pigeon pose. So this is going to be a pose that we hold for, once again, about 10 breaths. Starting with our left leg, bending left knee, ankle over right thigh. And then on the inhalation, reaching forwards, grabbing either behind the thigh, maybe front of the shin. Really depends on your body and the shape of it. And then when you're ready, drop your head back down. Draw the knees closer. And just before you really settle into the pose, notice if you've shifted weight into one side of the pelvis more. Often to avoid the stretch, we'll kind of pull sideways, this way, that way. But see if you can really feel that your sacrum, so the back of your pelvis and your lower back, is evenly down on the mat. Usually when you do that, you'll feel a little bit more intensity in the stretch. And ideally, that's what we want. We want to slowly engage these spaces instead of avoiding them. So choose your edge. Be mindful of how much you're pulling the legs closer. And then see if you can soften your throat, your jaw. Connect with slow, deep breathing as you just feel that opening through the left hip to begin with. Allow your belly to be spacious as you breathe. Good. We'll take another 3 deep breaths here. See if you can find more softness across your shoulders and your upper back. And getting a sense that the back of your heart is really firmly grounded on the earth as well. One last breath. And then when you're ready, you release the legs, placing right foot on the floor. Reach your arms out to the side, cactus shape. And then on the exhalation, for a moment, just gently drop both your legs towards the left. You might find that the left leg doesn't actually touch the floor, not a problem. But just to find a little bit more opening across the right hip and the front of the right psoas. And then consciously just breathing into your belly, 3 deep breaths. Really nice release if you've been seated all day. And then on the next inhalation, drawing the legs back into center. Let's switch around. So now the right ankle comes over the left thigh. As you inhale, you reach forward, grabbing behind the left. And then once again, pulling the legs closer, taking a moment to notice, am I shifting the weight equally across both sides of the pelvis? So do I feel it equally in the left and the right side of the lower back? And when you do, from that space, you can begin to draw the legs in a little bit deeper. Maybe if you like, keeping your bent leg a little bit more active. Just to initially come into the stretch, especially if you feel the body is quite resistant. A little bit of gentle activation sometimes helps to connect the body to the brain, reminding it of which areas actually need attention and which areas can actually be released. So keep drawing in nice and easy. And keep the belly spacious as you breathe. So equal measures of softness and focus. We'll take 2 more deep breaths here in reclining pigeon pose. And then releasing your last breath. Place the left foot down onto the mat, hands go back up into a cactus shape, keeping the legs crossed as they are. As you exhale, drop both legs over towards the right. You'll feel the stretch gently shift into the front of the pelvis on the left side. And then breathing into that space, breathing down into your pelvic bowl as a way of softening all the connective tissue and fascia in that area.
One more deep breath here. And then as you inhale, draw the legs closer. Release. And then just making sure your block is close by. We'll take 1 or 2 more breaths in constructive rest. Feeling the whole of the lower back resting on the ground. And then on the next breath in, we'll lift the hips, coming into a supported bridge pose. So using either a pillow, your block, or a book. As you inhale, let the hips float up. And you can choose whether you want quite a low lift, maybe a higher lift as well. See how your body feels today and what feels appropriate. Sometimes taking things a little bit easier has a lot more benefit in the long run. So take a nice deep breath once you've decided where your body needs to be today. And then allow the weight of your hips to very gently sink into the prop underneath you, so that all of the muscular tension of holding yourself begins to release. You're welcome to maybe walk your feet out a little bit further, but still keeping the knees bent, so not straightening the legs completely. And just see if that opens up a little bit more space between the thigh and the pelvis. On your next exhalation, straighten your right leg if you can. It doesn't have to straighten all the way. Just reach the right heel out a little bit more, and then let the whole foot and the leg turn out towards the right side of your mat. You'll feel this intensify sensations across the right hip bone and also on the inside of the pelvis. If there's any pain inside the pelvis or the lower back, bring the foot back closer. Otherwise, see if you can stay for 5 more deep breaths. Seeing if you can consciously direct your inhalation to the right hip bone. And maybe gently pausing on the fullness of your breath. We'll take 1 more deep full breath here. And then slowly slide the right leg back in. And from here, as you exhale, extend your left leg out. So once again, straighten as much as you feel comfortable with. Allow the outer edge of your left foot to be heavy so that the whole leg rotates outwards. The same can happen for the bent leg. And as the legs kind of move away from each other, all that you're getting is a sense of space across the front of the pelvis. See if you can direct your breath into your left hip bone, the left side of the pelvic bowl. And feel how the inhalation lifts your belly and almost pushes the pelvic floor away from your navel. In this full belly breathing is how we find release for the nervous system. It helps all the muscles and the deeply held tension in the connective tissue to release. We'll take 1 more deep breath here. And then on the next inhalation, bring the leg back. Turn both of the feet down towards the bottom. Place some weight first into your toes, the balls of your feet, lifting your hips, and then release the block or the pillow from underneath the back of the pelvis. Move the feet out wide and drop the knees together. And feel where you had that sense of opening and stretching through the front of the pelvis. Now everything becomes a little bit more soft. As you breathe, you can imagine your breath rippling down through the chest, through the belly, all the way into the soft space between your hip bones. See how high you can lift your navel towards the ceiling with every breath in, but doing so without really straining. So it's not actively pushing the belly out. It's finding that strength in your diaphragm, the muscle that sits between your lungs and your abdomen, and how that muscle can very gracefully but strongly contract, creating this pressure in the belly that ripples all the way down to the pubic bone. Feel your chest expand, spaciousness between your ribs. And feel free to hold the breath on its fullness for maybe a count of 1 or 2. And just to kind of linger in the space that the breath creates. We'll take 2 more breaths here like this. And then from here, when you're ready, walk the feet closer to one another once more. We'll open the knees wide, letting the soles of the feet touch, coming into a reclining cobbler pose. So option here, if this is quite a strong stretch for your inner thighs and once again in this pelvic space, there is the option to use your block or your rolled up towels to support the knees. That makes it a lot more supportive. And sometimes we actually need to be in a space of neutral instead of always stretching. Stretching still has effect on the nervous system. It's not necessarily bad, but sometimes it's nice to play with the feeling of being supported and noticing the effect that that has on the nervous system. So I've supported my knees, which means I'm definitely not in my capacity in terms of opening, but there's a sense of softness in the inner thighs, the pelvic floor, the pelvic bowl, the belly. The soles of the feet are gently connected, so I have that sensation feedback loop happening in the body. And maybe just to connect all of this, place your hands across your lower ribs, moving your elbows out wide, dropping your chin towards your chest. And then eyes closed, allow yourself to breathe. Notice how every exhalation sheds anything that you no longer need from this day. Any movement in the mind, any sense of flightiness in the body. See if you can feel the weight in the elbows, the back of the head, the pelvis, the lifting on the outside of the knees. And see if you can just rest back into this feeling of being completely supported. And rather than trying to contain or direct any of this energy moving in the mind and the body, tap into a sense of it evaporating, simply evaporating like water does in the sun. So imagining a little bit of an ice block lying in a sunny place. Feel yourself melting, feel yourself evaporating and coming to rest.
You're welcome to stay here in this pose for as long as you like, maybe even taking a regular Shavasana afterwards to finish. Thank you so much for joining. Wishing you a wonderful rest of the day.